Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
As we discussed yesterday, unbelief, rebellion against God, leads to judgment. The ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. This warning from God is also a promise. On earth, Christian groups are mixed with what Jesus calls the wheat and the tares. The tares, which look like wheat, much like the chaff from Psalm 1:4, are worthless, but they're in with the wheat. But we know heaven will have no unrighteous, unsaved people, no matter how good they looked on earth. In Jesus' parable of the wheat and the tares in Matthew 13, he tells the harvesters, "Let both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them into bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barns." Unbelievers have a completely different destination. Psalm 1:6 says, "For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish." The Lord takes one look and knows the wheat from the tares, the sheep from the goats. He knows us intimately, deep down, on a close relational level. In John 10, he calls himself the Good Shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. It says the shepherd knows his sheep, and his sheep know him. Now, lest we think that we're his sheep because we're somehow better than the goats on the left, Ephesians 2:8 gives us a reality check. "For by grace you've been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God." We are made righteous by grace through faith in what Jesus has already done. I just want to make sure that that's clear before we go on. The way of the righteous and the way of the ungodly are two separate paths. In Acts, Christianity was originally referred to as the way, because Jesus said he was the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus tells us to enter the narrow gate because the broad way leads to destruction. But the narrow path, though more difficult, leads to life. So not every path leads to heaven, as some believe today. Proverbs says, "The path of the just is like the shining sun that shines even brighter into the perfect day. But the way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble." Two different paths for sure. And Psalm 23 tells us that even when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we can trust our guide, our shepherd, because he knows the way. He's been there before, and he leads us safely through. So let me read all of Psalm 1 again as we end our mini study on this important part of the book of Psalms. "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bring forth fruit in its season, whose leaf also shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like chaff, which the wind drives away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish." So, which way are you on?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.